Welcome back, everybody, with youthful, energetic Thurrott.
Yes. I I know. The Crimea River, the ride over here. Just tired. Sorry.
Well, Paul Thurrott, did you catch up on the little Tim Apple event yesterday?
Yeah. I haven't watched the event. I mean, I read about the announcements.
Mm-hmm.
None of them are all that interesting to me, except for one thing, by the way. You know this because the previous iPhone I owned and used was an 11 Pro Max, which
Mm-hmm.
came in a nice kind of forest green color. And
Mm-hmm.
when they did this new version, well, they did what did they do? Like kind of a bluish color for the 12.
Yeah, that sounds about
And
right.
then I think they did for a different blue color for the 13, lighter blue. I was like, I want the green color, you know. Now they
Paul
have one.
Thurrott is that user.
Well, they did it a little late for me,
Yeah.
so whatever. I got a green case, but you know, the studio stuff is vaguely interesting, but this is a computer that starts at $2,000,
No, no,
and then
no.
if you want that,
Oh,
I
if you
know
want
if you want the new chipset,
yeah, but
like
who's
$3,500.
yeah? What?
What are they?
What?
Has this company learned nothing? I don't.
Oh, the Paul Thurrott. They have learned a lot of things. They have learned that people pay exuberant prices for their technology, and they are just
Yeah.
unabashedly. I made up a word. That's how we're going.
Unabashedly is a word. That's
Is it? Unabashedly?
yeah.
Whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They're going all in. I also think we can fully put to bed at this point that the thin, simple, and light era of Apple is done. Like
Yes.
they announced
yes.
a chunky boy.
I was thinking about this. I don't know, maybe while flying or something. I for some reason it's crossed my mind. You know, during the Steve Jobs era, it was like thinner, smaller, smaller. You know, and there were SNL jokes about the little iPod you couldn't even see and all that kind of stuff. I was literally just thinking, like, would Steve Jobs have ever made these steps? You know, gone in this direction? You know, I don't think so. I don't see him stepping back from that cliff. You know.
So I have plausible theory, maybe
Mm-hmm.
that sort of that they can justify it from the Apple essence, if you will.
Okay.
So when they were doing the thin and light, they were on Intel chips for the most part. I mean, that was their thing, thin and light. I suspect the reason why they sort of went down that route is because anybody could go get an Intel chip. And so for them, thin and light was the differentiator because they said, look, other people can't do this, at least not yet. And so that was how they separated themselves. And now
Yeah, I mean, they did
they
it
don't need
across
to.
the board, of course, right? They
Yeah.
did it on phones and tablets and.
But now they have their own A series chipsets, which nobody else can do. So thin and light isn't going to
Yeah.
sell it. And so now not who cares about form factor, but it's what does it matter? Because hey, nobody else is going out there getting an M1 Ultra CPU. So that's their differentiator.
I don't know. I mean, maybe It seems to me that one of the rationales for moving to ARM is thinner, lighter, right? Like you don't need active cooling necessarily, although you very clearly do on these very high, more powerful chipsets. But yeah, okay, sure. I mean, I think the problem for Apple is that they were getting pushback from customers.
Oh, sure.
They were releasing devices that they marketed as Pro at great cost that were not Pro, in the sense that they didn't meet all of the needs of their actual Pro customers. Apple likes to, well, I don't know. I don't know what they like to anymore. Apple is the company that you don't know what it is that you need until we tell you what it is kind of mentality.
Yeah.
But they also talk about how much they love their customers and must listen to feedback. I don't know. Anyway, they're unique. You have to give Apple some credit for being Apple. They're just plotting their own path, like you said. I just don't. I just don't care about much of this stuff. Most of this stuff. I mean, I just don't. I don't know.
There were two announcements that one fell on deaf ears or was missed because of nothing they controlled. They announced baseball's coming to Apple TV on Friday night. For people who aren't familiar with baseball, there's a lockout going on. There's no baseball happening until then.
There is no
an agreement.
baseball. That's right. Yeah. Well, I meant to tweet this. I'm just happy to see that Major League Baseball can reach an agreement with somebody.
Yeah.
But beyond that, great. So I made a crack. I mean, the numbers might be slightly off, but when Amazon does one football game a year in a 16-game season, which I guess is now a 17-game season, or maybe they're doing two. Are they getting a second game this coming season? Whatever it is. I mean, that's a huge chunk of that season. Two games in a 162, or this year less than 162 game season, is like, okay, well, it's cute. I mean, that's fine. It would be. There are so many games. One of the biggest problems, which I know about because we pay for MLB TV, which is not exactly the service I want it to be. Because we moved from Boston, we like the Boston baseball team. We like, whatever they're called. I don't remember. They're not famous. We like it because you can watch the local show, the local announcers and everything. Unfortunately, the guy we really liked just passed away, Jerry Remy, but whatever. The thing is, MLB TV doesn't show the local ads, which we think would be kind of fun, right?
Yeah.
They show their own house ads, which are often just repeated endlessly, And then they cut the thing off. The second the game ends, done. You don't even get a minute of post-game analysis. It's like it's over. And I kind of don't like that. And then the other issue is blackouts. Now, we don't have a huge issue with that because of where we live, but in our area, we have a number of teams that are kind of technically in the area, so we could get a lot of games that are blacked out. I'd like to see an online service like Apple TV Plus or whatever overcome those issues.
Yeah.
Blackouts especially, which would be the one that would impact the most people.
I want the same thing for the NFL, where I just give some entity a quantity of dollars.
And you get to watch the games that you want to watch.
Every single game you want.
Yep, no matter what it is.
It doesn't matter. I don't want to worry about blackouts.
Blackout rules are like blue laws, if that's the right term, like you can't buy alcohol on Sunday. They're from a different era. They don't make any sense today.
So the other thing, too, that they announced yesterday that is kind of frustratingly annoying and very Apple is their new $1,600 display. Now, it's not the price point that whatever.
Really? You don't think $1,600 is too much for a 20
it's Apple, whatever. Apple's going to do what Apple does. The problem I have, Paul Thurrott, is that it's only a 60 hertz display.
Right.
And it's like, come on. You're going to charge a premium for this and say it's the next best thing. And
what's the name of this device? Do you know?
Isn't it the Studio Display or something like that?
Studio Display, yeah. So what you're looking for, Brad, is the Studio Pro display. That will be coming out in 2 years. It will cost $3,200.
Don't hurt me with facts.
Don't hurt me with facts.
Not that I was going to go buy one. I mean,
no, I know.
And then I think you have to pay $400 if you want to be able to augment the display up and down, tilt it, because why not?
This is a company that sells $600 wheels for a MacBook
just to see
Pro,
that they have I think it's a $130 Thunderbolt 4 cable, which Thunderbolt 4 cables are expensive, but not $130 expensive.
Yeah, well, it must be made of coronitarium or whatever the material's called.
Unobtainium, maybe.
Ground unicorn tails or horns or whatever.
Oh, God. So no, whatever. The only thing that wasn't announced that I think some people, like I was expecting, was the new MacBook Air, which they did not announce. So that was...
No, and now I'm seeing this thing that maybe this thing isn't coming till the end of the year. And it's like, guys, this is the one everyone wants. What are you doing? I don't know.
And then they're in another interesting position. I'll be curious to see how so we have the M1, the M1 Pro, the M1 Max, the M1 Ultra now. So, okay, the M2 comes in. I know. Inevitably, what's the performance characteristics of it? Is it better than the M1 Ultra?
Exactly. Or here's an even weirder problem. They now have, I guess, 4 renditions of the M1, 3 of which target higher-end machines. Pro class, you could argue workstation class now. Very, very expensive. And now you have an M2, and it's going to go in a MacBook Air. Yeah. So how do you market that? How do you make that make sense? Yeah. Maybe you just don't worry about it. I mean, I think the number after the M is the generation, I guess. That part, when you think about how other chips are branded, that's not actually the big part of it's not often in the number at all. You'll say something like an 11th gen or 12th gen Intel something, but the thing you're buying is a Core i3, i5, i7, i9, whatever the product is. Yep. But Apple in their naming, because when they came out with the M1, I think everyone thought the next one will be the M2, right? Yeah. They're going to go like they did with the A, 9, 10, whatever. But now that they've made 4 versions of the one, it's like, well, what's happening? I mean, so I suspect we will see. Oh, my dog just came in, so there might be an explosion of
Hopefully not poo.
no of excitement.
Mm-hmm.
She snorts like a horse. We have a horse, Brian. Anyway,
my kid rides a horse.
Yeah,
Against
she
my
or
will.
kid could ride this dog. It's very healthy, unfortunately. Anyway,
Keep trying. Anyways, things that happened this morning too. Amazon's finding itself in a very bad spot, not just with what's going on in Europe, but in the U.S. Actually, the Justice Department came out and very bluntly said, "Y'all lied to Congress." Like straight up said, when to back it up, Amazon went to Congress, they were whatever antitrust stuff, and said, we don't use data from our customers against our customers. And the Justice Department came out and said, well, actually, yeah, you do. According to multiple reports in investigative journalism, which is why you got to support independent journalism or just journalism in general, it says, nope,
Sure.
Amazon, you are completely lying. And the Justice Department, I believe, is going to go after Amazon. So this one's about to get real spicy.
Love it.
Yeah.
What I'd like the country to do about Amazon is make them pay for our highways, which they're ruining. We've already talked about that, so I won't beat it to death. But enough.
So we'll see what happens here. But that's a pretty big. Sometimes when you see these things out, they like kind of skirt around the issue. Nope, they straight up said LIE like multiple times. Like you came in, you lied, we caught you. Now you're going to pay the piper in some capacity or another or something like that. So that'll be fun to watch if you don't like Amazon.
I think everyone has a love-hate relationship with Amazon and all of these companies when you think about it, right?
Oh, yeah.
We rely on what they do and we hate them so much.
Mm-hmm. So anyways, we'll be back tomorrow. Yeah.
Sorry. Hopefully a little more awake.